Meanwhile, there's an interesting twist as to how Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu got to the US in the first place, especially when an arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court or the ICC looms over him. Well, he seems to have used a shortcut by escaping the European skies. On Sunday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took a 14-hour-long flight to Washington, D.C. But the plane took an exceptional route to reach Washington as it crossed the Atlantic Ocean after bypassing the so-called threatening European countries, with the destination of the trip hidden from the radar as well. Well, it sounds rather mysterious, isn't it? Well, this was supposedly done to avoid entering the airspace of all the countries that have declared that they would enforce arrest warrants against Bibi should he enter their zone. But what is this ICC warrant all about, and why is it binding on Netanyahu? On 21st of November 2024, the International Criminal Court, or the ICC, based out of The Hague in the Netherlands, issued arrest warrants against Netanyahu and his former Minister of Military Affairs, Yoav Gallant, and that is over war crimes and crimes against humanity in the Gaza Strip. These warrants mandate the signatories of more than 120 countries to execute the pledge, which basically means arrest the Israeli Prime Minister. Among the signatories are 39 European countries. Which are these countries now? Well, these include major European powers such as Germany, France and Britain. Earlier in January, reacting to Netanyahu's potential interest in visiting Poland, the EU Commission had said that all EU state members must respect the decisions and judgments of the ICC.
The Union supports the International Criminal Court and the principles set out in the Rome Statute. The EU respects the court's independence and impartiality. The EU is strongly committed to international criminal justice and the fight against impunity.
Having said that, just a handful of European capitals have vowed to actually arrest Netanyahu should he step on their territories, despite the legal obligation to do so, while Belgium, the Netherlands, Ireland, Lithuania, Slovenia and Spain had expressed strongest indications to enforce the arrest warrant. Countries like France, Germany and Italy hold a non-committal stance, with Hungary being the only EU country that has so far explicitly said it would defy the court orders. But what about the US? Now, when the ICC order on Netanyahu was issued last year, former US President Joe Biden had called the ruling outrageous and pledged to always stand with Israel against threats to its security. Therefore, even as in both North and South America, almost 24 countries have joined the said treaty, including regional powers such as Brazil, Canada and Mexico. The US is not a signatory to the treaty, which means that the ICC arrest warrant against Netanyahu cannot technically stop him from setting foot on the American soil. Even as the imposition of the order in itself forced Netanyahu to take a detour or perhaps circumvent the air route differently, listen in to this.
Nothing. The United States has no duties to arrest or surrender Netanyahu. So there, the kind of political needs of the United States match rather nicely with the legal position.
We now shift our attention to the United States' increasingly aggressive stance on illegal immigration. As per reports, a total of 205 Indian nationals who had allegedly entered the US unlawfully are now being deported back to India aboard a US military C-17 aircraft, which took off from Texas earlier today and is now expected to land in Amritsar on Wednesday morning. It is reportedly the first time that such a large group of Indian nationals have been deported from US. The deportation aligns with US President Donald Trump's stern approach towards illegal immigration, which is a cornerstone of his administration. The US government has already carried out similar deportation operations targeting migrants from countries like Guatemala, Peru and Honduras. However, this flight to India is reportedly the farthest destination yet. And the timing of this deportation is noteworthy. As per reports, upon arrival in India, the deported individuals will undergo thorough debriefings and verification procedures. Reportedly, a standard protocol to confirm identities, understand the circumstances and ensure that any legal matters related to the deportation are addressed. But this deportation is not an isolated event, but a part of a broader immigration enforcement campaign. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth visited the U.S.-Mexico border, marking his first official visit since taking office. Accompanied by Tom Homan, who is the newly appointed border SAR, Hegseth met with the troops tasked with securing the border.
The Defense Department has been helping on the border for decades, just not at the level that President Trump has charged us with right now. Because we believe, and he believes, that border security is national security. Guys and gals of my generation have spent decades in foreign countries guarding other people's borders. It's about time we secure our own border.
However, Trump's hardline immigration policies have sparked strong reactions worldwide. As per reports, at the recent Bolivarian Alliance for the People of Our America, or ALBA summit, leaders from Cuba, Nicaragua and Venezuela, they all have criticized Trump's approach. Take a listen.
Desaparezca.
We express our solidarity with the migrants being deported from the United States. The day will come when this anti-immigrant attitude and trend, which has been exacerbated, will disappear. The contribution of migrants to economic and productive activities which demand labor should be valued as it deserves.
Well, back in the U.S., cities across the country are witnessing large-scale demonstrations as a part of the Day Without Immigrants demonstrations. This movement reportedly aims to highlight the role immigrants play in the American economy, from agriculture to essential services. Demonstrators carried signs with messages reminding the public that immigrants are the backbone of many industries in America.
On the other side, I have immigrants built America, because who's someone who does your crops? It's immigrants. They're the ones in the fields. Who picks up your trash? It's immigrants. They're the ones that are cleaning out the offices, the bathrooms, everywhere you work. They're the ones that clean up. They're not the ones that are sitting at an office desk doing paperwork. They're the ones behind everything.
Meanwhile, U.S. Marines have reportedly been deployed to Guantanamo Bay to assist the U.S. Department of Defense in expanding the migrant operations there. This move is directly tied to Trump's mission to fortify American borders and also enhance national security measures. As deportations continue, Trump's immigration policies remains a key topic not just within the U.S. but across various countries. Well, scientists have sounded the alarm as H5N1 bird flu has increasingly shown disturbing signs of adaptation. With 68 North Americans infected and 1 death already recorded, the virus is defying traditional transmission patterns, and the spectre of an airborne pathogen is looming large, putting the public health system at a risk. Our next report telling you more.
The world came to a grinding halt. Bustling cities wore a deserted look. The world learned a painful lesson in 2020. When COVID-19 spread silently for months before the WHO confirmed that it was airborne. More than 7 million people died. Scientists fear history could repeat itself, this time with a far deadlier virus. The US Centers for Disease Control has tracked dozens of human infections linked to dairy farms. The virus jumps from animals to people, likely through contaminated droplets from milking machinery. But what if it mutates to travel through the air? Some flu strains have already shown that they can survive in tiny airborne droplets. If H5N1 follows suit, the virus could drift unseen through hospitals, restaurants, and crowded spaces. Inhalation alone would be enough to spread it. Certain mutations might even help it latch onto human respiratory cells, just as seasonal flu does. Tracking flu outbreaks is already difficult, with 1 billion cases of seasonal flu each year. If bird flu becomes airborne, containment could be near impossible. The prospects of an airborne H5N1 variant presents a frightening scenario for global public health. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in the US, becoming the first foreign leader to be hosted at the White House since US President Donald Trump's return to office. The meeting is likely to focus extensively on the Gaza ceasefire, but there's another key matter that is likely to be a major point of discussion between both the leaders, and that is, will the Israeli Prime Minister get Trump's approval for a military strike on Iran's nuclear facilities? Well, for years, Netanyahu has pushed to draw US attention to Iran's nuclear ambitions that have not only faced resistance from the White House, but also from within Israel's own military and political leaders. As per reports, Netanyahu may aim to secure Trump's green light for a military strike on Iran's nuclear infrastructure. But the question right now is, will Trump approve this? The answer is not so straightforward. In fact, there's history to this. In October last year, at a campaign event in North Carolina, Trump was in favor of Israel attacking Iran's nuclear sites, reportedly stating, and I'm quoting here, "Nuclear weapons are the biggest threat we face," elaborating further that the priority should be to strike Iran's nuclear capabilities first, and I'm quoting again, "worry about the rest later." That's what Trump said. The question now being, what is Iran's stance on this? The Iranian foreign minister last week issued a stern warning that any military aggression by Israel or the US targeting Iran's nuclear sites would ignite an all-out war, labeling such an attack as potentially one of the biggest historical mistakes that the US could make. As per reports, there's a strong possibility that Trump's return to power might embolden Netanyahu to take the military action he's long contemplated. But what exactly is the current state of Iran's nuclear program? Well, according to a report by the New York Times, a covert team of Iranian scientists are reportedly exploring faster, albeit less sophisticated methods to make an atomic weapon. This intelligence was gathered during the final months of the Biden tenure, and it was then passed on to the Trump administration. The report further states that Iran's nuclear engineers are seeking a shortcut, a method that could enable Tehran to weaponize its nuclear fuel in mere months, should its leadership decide to make that choice. As per reports, Iran now possesses enough nuclear material to make 4 or more bombs. However, transforming this material into an actual weapon involves additional and complex steps. This fresh intelligence is likely to be a major discussion between Trump and Netanyahu in Washington, D.C. Trump's stance on this matter remains somewhat uncertain. When asked after his inauguration if he would back an Israeli strike on Iran, his response was cautious. Trump hoped that it could be resolved peacefully without Israel having to strike Iran. As per US intelligence estimates, for Iran to build a functional nuclear warhead capable of being mounted on a missile, it could take anywhere from a year to 18 months. Some Israeli predictions extend that timeline to 2 years. But here's where things get interesting at this point of time. According to New York Times, US officials believe that Iran now has the technical capability to make an older style nuclear device, which is much faster than previously thought. This would reportedly be a rudimentary, less sophisticated weapon, but still capable of delivering a powerful deterrent message to the world. Adding that such a weapon could be assembled quickly, tested and showcased as a proof that Iran has crossed the nuclear threshold. And the mere possession of such a device would force countries who are considering military action to think twice against Iran. And Iran's preparations don't stop just there. In just the past month, Iran has constructed 3 underground missile facilities at undisclosed locations. Simultaneously, Iran has also ramped up military drills, particularly around its nuclear sites, signaling readiness to defend against any potential strikes. So what's next? Netanyahu's visit to the US is not just a diplomatic meeting. It might just determine whether West Asia plunges into a catastrophic conflict. So will Trump grant Netanyahu the authorization he seeks? And if an attack does occur, how will Iran respond? And what will be the global repercussions? At the moment, the answer to all these questions remain unclear.